This is a video explaining some of the internals of the EVVA MCS or EVVA MCS, which is the magnetic code system. And you can see up here we have our key, and these are the four magnets that go inside. And surprisingly, EVVA has come up with a very supposedly proprietary and pretty unique process for coating these magnets or magnetizing them. They are one solid piece and they go all the way through. However, each side of them are polarized differently. So they're not polarized the same on this side as on the other side, which allows the rotors to independently work. So not only is most of the time a disc magnet, the top and the bottom would be your north and south. In this case, instead, they are oriented along the other axis. So you would need to turn this magnet to rekey it. However, they cannot be rekeyed by the user just by popping those out and turning them. Because of that specialized process, they would have to be sent back to the factory or got a new key from the factory. So I think the entire system is actually factory dependent. In any case, let's go more into how the lock works. You have your four rotors, and you have the sidebar here, which on it itself has three gates. Or three pins, I guess you could say, and the gates are on each of the four rotors. You can see mine. Some of my rotors have multiple gates. This one has three, 2, and this last one just has one, I believe. So it's part of a master key system. It's a fairly extensive one, it looks like. But after the sidebar would go in, this then sidebar, or I guess you would say sidebar blocking system, or it keeps basically the sidebar in place as well as the rotors from popping out, is a piece of plastic, and it's actually fairly fragile. And from what I understand, that's by design, so that if a heat attack or another attack is done by trying to force the lock, that this basically will bind everything up and just stop the attack. So I believe that's its design, but it also makes taking these locks apart incredibly, I wouldn't say exactly difficult, but very painstaking. And then on top of that, you then have the outer, what I'll call the outer sidebar. This is so the inner sidebar here is just a very small plate of metal, and the outer sidebar here, this is actually what goes into or is mated to the lock housing. So inside the lock housing there are grooves that do not allow this to turn or do allow it to turn based on what position it's in. So in this case, this guy would go this direction on the lock. And we can try to simulate our second. When all the rotors line up, another bar, it allows this to slide forward, and then the plug can turn. So this is the one that actually blocks the turning of the key. So on the back we have one pin, so if the inner sidebar was a bit of a mystery for a bit to me, just because it only had 3 little pins on it, and thinking to myself, hey, why have 4 rotors when you just have 3 pins? Well, the other pin is obviously here in the outer sidebar. So this one corresponds to just the first rotor, and the other 3 correspond to the inner ones. So really, if you're manually the hardest part about this lock for picking is going to be tensioning the lock, because this is really you can only really effectively, you can tension the lock, however, and you can put pressure on this sidebar. However, even if you're able to manipulate these rotors, the sidebar will not drop in automatically under tension. You need to relieve tension, and then the sidebar will drop into place. So it's a bit like the newer Kwikset sidebars. So let me give you a quick simulation of the key and the cylinder here, and see if I can show you how this goes. So if I insert the key into the lock, hopefully I've got this set up the right way. Maybe not. Let me just, yeah, here we go. So let's see if I can make sure this is in focus. Key into the lock, and we see our rotors going, and you can see all of the gates are now lined up towards my hand, or towards the opposite side of the key over here. This allows the sidebar to then travel forward and allows, again, the lock to unlock. And there's an equal set of these on the other side of the lock. You can also see as I insert the key that, or remove the key, that the ball bearings on the top and bottom also go up or down. And most of those are just passive, it looks like to me, in that they would stop plug rotation if you had the wrong key, or in other words, if you had a key with the improper cuts at the top or the bottom, at least in this area of the key, going from the front to about here, those 6 ball bearings will come into play. And then you have one center ball bearing here that drops into this top channel. So that one I believe is cut. Again, everything's cut by the factory, but I believe that that one is cut to prevent plug rotation initially. So you can see a pretty complicated system, and it does look like a pretty secure system, because even if we develop a tool to manipulate these rotors, and even if we think we're at the right, we have them all positioned to the right place, really the hard part is going to be getting that sidebar to drop into place. So I'll make another video at some point on how to take this guy apart, but that will probably be a much longer video and full of a lot of hilarious moments of me dropping pieces. But for now, this is the operation video. Hope you enjoyed.